We begin in Nigeria's capital, the Federal Capital Territory, where residents headed to the polls in the FCT Area Council elections yesterday. Now, this morning, we will examine the conduct of the elections, concerns raised by voters and also stakeholders, and the critical process of vote collation. Next, we turn to a deeply sensitive but necessary national conversation. Rising concerns over sexual violence and the urgent calls for stronger protection for victims, while also ensuring fairness and justice in cases of false accusations. In light of recent development involving a Nigerian social media personality, we explore how society can strike a balance, advocating firmly for an end to sexual violence while also upholding principles of truth, justice, and due process. On Focus Africa today, we head to South Africa once again, where Bellarmine Mugabe, son of former Zimbabwean leader Robert Mugabe, faces serious legal challenges following his arrest on charges of attempted murder. We examine the legal and political implications of this developing story and also what it means for the Mugabe legacy. And back here in Nigeria, political tensions continue to unfold in Rivers State, where a recent by-election has raised concerns and questions about electoral conduct, political stability, and the road ahead. Our correspondent will bring us up to speed with on-ground insight in what Nigerians should expect moving forward. Finally, Nigerians continue to push boundaries on the global stage. From endurance magic performance to ambitious storytelling projects, the pursuit of recognition by Guinness World Records is inspiring a new wave of determination. But what drives this growing trend? Is it passion? Is it purpose? Is it national pride? Or the pursuit of fame? We explore the motivations, the sacrifice, and the meaning behind these extraordinary attempts right here on Breakfast Extra. All these and more we'll be informing you about, engaging you with, and of course exploring together the stories that matter most this Sunday morning. Welcome to Breakfast Extra. Yes, indeed. Now, we are going to be joining our studios in Abuja for the continuation from yesterday's observation of the Abuja Area Council elections. And of course, we have guests. Now, the people of the Federal Capital Territory have spoken as residents across the 6 area councils participated in an election widely seen as a critical test of grassroots democracy. From voter turnout to the conduct of officials and the transparency of the collation process, attention is now focused on whether the election met the standards of credibility and accountability expected by Nigerians. So local government elections are often described as the closest form of governance to the people, and their credibility plays a major role in shaping public trust in the broader democratic system. Questions are now being asked about how smoothly the process went, how transparent the collation has been, and what this means for future elections under the supervision of the independent National Electoral Commission.
Joining us now to examine the conduct, the credibility, and the accountability of the FCT Area Council elections are 2 distinguished guests. We have Bukola Idowu, team lead at the development, and we're also joined by Dr. Barry Johnson, a country director of Votes Must Count International Initiative, a strong advocate for electoral transparency and citizen participation. Mazino, we've got one more.
Yes, indeed. We're also joined this morning by Umar Danasabe Mohammed, Senior Programs Manager, Democratic Accountability and Election Kimpact Development Initiative. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Dr. Johnson, good to see you again this morning. Umar, you weren't with us yesterday, but we had very interesting conversations with Dr. Johnson yesterday. And this morning we've had a pre-conversation, which that's not the one that's going to go on air. But it was interesting to see from a no-holds-barred perspective what your thoughts were, gentlemen. I'm sure we can share some of those, however, without some of the choice words that we chose to use from before. Dr. Johnson, let's get an overview from you what the elections were like yesterday.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'll say good morning, Nigeria. For me and for Vote Must Count International Initiative, we'll let the world know the truth. We'll let the world know that the politics of Nigeria is a serious shame. It's a serious shame. We saw what happened yesterday. This is not an election. This is a selection of those the President of Nigeria and the Honorable Minister Nyesom Wike are interested in giving power to. You can see that it's all about the APC with the influence of the PDP by the corner. And it's a sad experience that the Honorable Minister could use state power to capture the politics and the election of the FCT. the Nyesom Wike has no business in the conduct of the election, but you saw the role he played. We saw him all over the place going to supervise the election. Is that his business? Does he work for INEC? Those are the things you ask. And again, you also see the by force curfew sit at home restriction of movement. If you understand the politics of the FCT and the elections over the years, you understand that freedom of movement is one of the major roles for a successful elections in the FCT, most especially at the Abuja Municipal Area Council, where most people register in their business places. And by that restriction of movement is an automatic restriction of the disenfranchisement of voters in AMAC. And that is one of the systematic ways to make sure that people who are supposed to win this election don't even have more than 10 votes. And you can also see the thuggery, the vote buying, and the stealing of ballot box, and the fighting of the opposition people. Man, this is not an election. In fact, Vote Must Count used this opportunity to reject whatever result presented by INEC in connivance with Ahmed Bola Tinubu's APC and the FCT minister at the same time. You see, truth be said, the FCT people, most especially those living in AMAC, exactly did not do well at all by not coming out, because you confirm that these elections, if you go to some polling units, 0 voters. So what exactly is the reason why money is spent for these elections? 0 voting. Do you know what it means to have 0 voting? It's a shame. The duties of citizens in the FCT must be helped to educate these people. Nigerians don't exactly know the reason why they are Nigerians, and the reason why they have to vote, and the reason why their vote must count. If you don't vote in Nigeria, the government will use the vote. The government will vote for you. Nyesom Wike will vote for you. INEC will vote for you, and their result will count, not your own vote. So if you exactly really want your vote to count, you must come out on election day and show and practice, and you participate in the electioneering process, and stop shouting that the government has rigged you out. You rigged yourself out by not coming out, and this is sad. Honestly, this is sad.
Dr. Berry, it's interesting what you've just said there, but I dare to ask publicly, your vote counts. This is the narrative that we are always pushing on the African continent, and everywhere for that matter. But let's take into consideration what you mentioned earlier with regards to the vote buying. I know there were some videos trending. I don't know if you saw them, Mazina, where you literally saw people being given 1,000 naira and a bottle of Fanta for them to go and vote. So my question now then looks at we saw as well ballot papers going missing. Do the votes of the people actually really count? Because I think right now it's beginning to look like a deflated kind of, what's the word, Mazina, help me?
I wish I knew, but I can't.
The hope, hope deferred, that's it.
Okay.
It's beginning to look like a hope deferred situation where people are actually like, I'm gonna go and vote, but is my vote really going to make that change? So I think, help me, does the vote of an individual actually really count?
Yes, the vote of Nigerians count, if Nigerians want it to count. You know the kind of country that you are. You know the kind of political players that you have. Since 1960, those who captured Nigeria, we can see the reflection of bringing Nigeria back and forth. And if we exactly want Nigeria to have a turnaround, what exactly do? We make our vote count. And how do we make that count? We come out on election day, follow the law, cast your vote, protect it. How do you protect the vote? You stay there until these votes are counted, until they are transmitted, until they become results. But no way. In Nigeria, you don't see this. Nigerians just come and vote and walk away. On election day is the day you want to go out with one lady. On election day is the day you want to watch that movie. On election day is the day you want to play football on the road. Come on, let's be serious for once. The citizens of Nigeria have not done well at all. With the example that we saw yesterday in the Federal Capital City, most especially in AMAC, the center, the most important local government area in Nigeria. If you want your vote to count, it is you who has the votes that will make it count.
Okay.
How do you do that? Again, come out, cast your vote, stay there until it's casted, until it's counted, stay there until it's collated, stay there until it becomes a vote, stay there until it becomes a result. That's the only way, because you are dealing with people who don't understand politics. You are dealing with people who are political criminals, jumping from one political party to the other. You are dealing with people who don't care about the citizens. You are dealing with people who come with policies that is killing. You are dealing with people who are looters. You are dealing with people who understand that the democracy of Nigeria is not something anybody should protect. You are dealing with people who come into government with the thinking of stealing, and nothing happens. So how do you compare that? You must fight them. How do you fight them? Use the Constitution, use the Electoral Act that gives you the opportunity to be a voter. We created this Vote Must Count international initiative. We call it the VMCII since 2010. And we have been doing everything to educate Nigerians on what we have to do as citizens. The citizenry of Nigeria is even worse to compare to the leadership. Those who are leading you in this country, all together with them, their wives, their brothers, their sisters, their girlfriends in all the hotels in Abuja, they are now up to 5,000 people. But you, 250 million useless citizens who cannot come together to decide that their country must change. Look at AMAC. AMAC has almost more than 300,000 votes. How many people came out yesterday to vote? After I left your studio yesterday, I was driving around and in AMAC, empty polling units. And the coppers and the police are just sitting down doing nothing. You are giving the ruling party the opportunity to continue to rule. You are giving people like Nyesom Wike the opportunity to vote for you. You know the capacity of Nyesom Wike. You know the capacity of the FCT minister. You know how he became minister. You know what he did in Rivers. You gave him all the chance to rig you out. That is what we are talking about. We have this evidence that votes were bought. We have the evidence that people were stopped from coming out to vote. Because if you follow the history of the politics of the FCT, you understand that people register to vote in their places of work. And this is the first time Nigerians have been restricted from moving on election day in the FCT. And it is a tactic to rig the people out. So we are calling on everyone who needs to hear. Everyone, both President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, he must understand that democracy is supposed to be something that deals with freedom. The vote of the people must count, and we have come to tell the world that this election is not acceptable. And INEC must grow up. That INEC chairman must understand that INEC is not a classroom where people go to learn. If you don't understand the politics of elections in Nigeria, reject the appointment to become the INEC chairman, or we label you as an extension of the APC and a political party instead of being an election umpire where you conduct elections. You end up joining forces with the police, joining forces with Nyesom Wike, who stands in two political parties at a time, joining the president of Nigeria to reject Nigerians, to make sure that Nigerians don't have the opportunity to vote. Doctor. This is the truth, and we have evidence over this.
Okay. Doctor, this is a very interesting redress, the way you've put it as against from before, which is, it captures everything that you said before the show started. However, I wanted to talk about this, complacency versus, restriction versus disenfranchisement. We're talking about two different people here, the voters and the authority. If these restrictions were put in place, and you say it seems like as if it kind of like disenfranchised people to go out and vote, but then again, how educated are the people themselves to have known what to do in the first place, the right thing to do in the first place? Umar, you are an election observer yourself. I mean, today we're getting the results collated, and I'm wondering what you think about this. Where's the balance between the electorate and the authorities themselves?
Thank you very much for having me. Collation has been concluded. Results are currently being collated, put together, and announced. across the wards and the local government headquarters. KDI, under the ballot integrity project, we are monitoring this result collation process. And from what we are seeing on the IREV, we are gradually tabulating and we are getting feedback as regard what is going on. By the time we clean up the data, we'll be able to tell, what's, has happened in terms of result management, which is very, very critical. And we've been having conversation with the electoral umpire as regard result management across all elections in Nigeria. Meanwhile, from the management process, especially on what we are seeing on the IREV, we saw a bit of module up, in the result upload process. For chairmanship side of the portal, you see, councillorship results uploaded in those places. Then for the councillorship part of the IREV portal, in some cases, you see chairmanship results uploaded. Whatever may have caused this, we don't know, but this boils down to, the quality of training that we're giving to the INEC officials, and better still, part of the conversation as regard the IREV upload, and real-time transmission and conversation, and all that conversation. For us, we feel this situation needs to improve because the result viewing portal is something, it's a system that is put in place for citizens to be able to track, result management process, to be able to tell on their own, what has happened at the various polling units. This has been a conversation that has been ongoing. You could recall, the situation we had with the National Assembly as regard, this particular portal. Seeing what has happened with the FCT, results upload is really, really worrisome. More so that the upload started, the view of the uploaded results started very late. We couldn't see the results until, late in the evenings. You recall that the elections took place and it's supposed to be concluded at 2:30. With the low voter turnout, we expected to start seeing results on the IREV portal as early as 2:30 thereabout. We couldn't view any results on the portal up until late in the evenings. And that for us is very, very worrisome and brings to the front border, the conversation about result management and even the IREV portal as we've had it coming.
Umar, you just put two things together here, and Dr. Johnson actually mentioned, he spoke extensively about participation. Now, how has participation affected transparency of the elections when it comes to the collation of the results, especially noting the low turnout? There was one instance where in Kubwa there was a unit with 700 registered voters, but only 50 people turned out. And you also just mentioned that the low turnout we should have expected easier and quicker collation. So how has that affected the transparency of these collations?
So for us, we believe that voter turnout should play a very good role in terms of the results, because a large chunk of the people who will be governed by whoever gets elected would have that position to select whoever would emerge. But what we saw in that election was actually, very few numbers of people coming out. I personally, at AYA polling units, at the front of one of the banks there, I think unit 017 or thereabout, that polling unit has about 1,700 registered voters. As at 12 noon, when I got there, they had just 8 accreditation on the BVAS machine. So this speaks volume to the quality of elections that we had in FCT. For me, I think what I observed yesterday, and I will speak directly, to the outcome of the result and even the result management process, is that for the urban area, the municipal area, we discovered there was low voter turnout, and this low voter turnout can easily be tied to activities that preceded the elections. For instance, you know that you spoke about the knowledge of the voters as regard what is happening. Before the election, we had that issues with the National Assembly where whether to transmit real time, and all that. And a whole lot of Nigerians came forward to say, with the way the National Assembly has voted on the Electoral Amendment Bill, that they are not going to show up, to vote in elections again. That is one part, to the low voter turnout. Another thing that we have noticed also that has affected voter turnout, irrespective of the fact that FCT has always have, low voter turnout. But when compared to what happened yesterday, it's another kettle entirely. So I will state that the curfew declared, the two curfew declared, ahead of the election also affected turnout. You have the weekend curfew, you have the Nigeria police curfew. And we expected that the Nigeria police will come out to debunk or, clarify as regard what the weekend curfew has declared. What is the Nigeria police position on that? Because we all know, according to our laws, police are supposed to provide security for elections. But what we saw was that the FCT minister, gave his own timing, which is different from that of police, and throw the entire city into apprehension. Even for me to move from my office to the data center, we had to start, moving very quickly so that we don't, we don't violate the 8 p.m. curfew. Ordinarily, we will move at our own time, set up in the evenings, to the next day in the morning. So we know that this also affected voters, turnout, because voters, just as my colleague has mentioned, that voters, most of the voters in FCT, especially the municipal area, registered in their place of work. So they will need to move from their place of residence to their place of work to be able to exercise their franchise. But from what we have seen is that the timing for the curfew was even skewed against the voter. Then another factor we have seen that affected turnout and that will speak volume, to the integrity of the result was that mobilization was done at the fringes of FCT. Right. Voter mobilizations was done at the fringes of FCT. If you go to Buhari, you go to Abaji, you go to, all these area councils that are flanking the municipal area council, you will notice that the turnout is a bit improved. But then those are the places where you see political party agents telling a voter how to vote, who to vote for. And what security agencies did tactically for that election was to...
Mr. Umar, let's just take a pause on that. When we come back from the break, I'll let you finish your answer. We're going on a quick break now, but when we return, we delve deeper into the results and the process of elections in Abuja. Do you stay with us?
Welcome back. It's still Breakfast Extra here, and we're still considering and looking at the elections from yesterday as we expect the collations and results for today. We have in our Abuja studios speaking with us Dr. Barry Johnson and Umar Mohammed. Now, Umar Mohammed, before we went on that break, you were speaking, and I was wondering if you wanted to finish that. But while you're doing that, I also wanted you to talk about the disparity between the urban Abuja areas like Amak and the rest 5 of the councils. What kind of observations did you observe when it came to participation and also transparency of how the processes went yesterday?
So I can easily just link, the participation dichotomy between urban and the rural Abuja area easily to one, the issue of awareness on the election itself and the dynamics around the elections. For the urban centers, we have mentioned that most people voted at the place where they work. At the same time, you can easily link, the urban center people to their attitude towards election in itself. The basic amenities that the people at the rural part of Abuja lacks, the urban center has a bit of it. Good road, good water network, security, and all that. These are the primary responsibilities of government. And the urban center, you can easily say, they have this within their reach. They can easily decide to say they are not interested, in the election. Also, the issues that preceded the election, the urban center people are probably very open to it, and they can easily take decisions based off on that. But in the rural area where you have, deficits in terms of political education, and all that, mobilization becomes much more easier for political parties, to mobilize the people out. At the same time, poverty is very, very high, in the rural area. For 1,000 naira and a bottle of Fanta, people will gladly rush out to come and vote. And for those few that are a bit enlightened, you can say because of the deficit of these basic amenities, that puts them, more interested, in electing who governs them. Ultimately, in the rural area also, you can say that the candidates who, across all political parties, are probably known to the voters. So they can easily, be able to hold them to account and come out and vote for them. But in the urban area, most times what we see are people, who are just running for office are mostly the urban dwellers do not even know them, and they are not interested. That is that disconnect. But what we saw yesterday was that most of the shady deals that happened as regard that election happened in the rural, aspect of Abuja. And to continue where I stopped, we discovered that security agencies, in the course of enforcing, that curfew, restriction of movement, for the elections, cordon off, major roads that leads to, these rural areas. And what we saw yesterday was that the violators of this restriction of movement who drove, the security agencies didn't manage, the way they want to enforce, that movement. So what we saw was that the barricade, vehicles just go load up to the barricade, and critical election day workers couldn't pass through because a very good example is towards Buhari. We have a roadblock where vehicles blocked, choked up the roadblock, and observers could not go through. In fact, even INEC officials like RACTEC guys, the IT guys, who are supposed to, provide, repairs to the BVAS machines where it has any situation, couldn't even access the rural areas. Security agencies couldn't pass through. Even observers couldn't pass through. The same thing happens at Nyanya. The same thing happened on your way to Abaji. So what we saw yesterday was a tactical blockade of essential poll workers, both security, the INEC itself, and even observer group, that couldn't go through to the rural areas.
All right,
and all we are seeing as regard the election, including what even you, the media, was showing to us, happened in the rural area and not the urban area. So what we may likely see as regard result management is that the issues as regard result management may likely come from the urban areas, which couldn't be monitored by election day workers, and a whole lot of things happened in those places.
Mr. Umar, sorry if I can just interject. Let me move to Dr. Johnson, because I really liked the useless statement you made there. In quote, of course. Sir, I want to get your take. Taking into consideration the fact that 2027 we're going into, I'm not going to say these aren't critical, but more critical elections. Let's look at the grassroots. Of course, we can go into the urban areas. If we're seeing a situation where 1,000 naira and Fanta is being given and your vote automatically goes to whomever you want me to vote for because you gave me this amount of money, what does this say about the education and the campaigning, so to speak, that needs to be done in the grassroots and rural areas in order for people to be well informed about the decisions that they are supposed to make and what this says and speaks to the future of Nigeria? Because right now it sounds as though, well, we don't care. I need the 1,000 naira. The government is not doing anything for me anyway, so this will, at least give me that daily bread. How do we educate people for them to understand what you and I had spoken about earlier with regards to that your vote counts and it is needed for you to do the right thing and not have the instant gratification of the 1,000 naira?
Well, I am very, very clear about this, that it has been the problem of our elections since 2010 when we formed the Vote Must Count International Initiative. And we have carried out little researches across boards and decided that it is a clear manifestation that Nigeria needs to come back to where it is. Nigeria is supposed to be a country in the hands of the people, not in the hands of some few elements who think they have kidnapped us using their father, their brother, their sister, their uncle, and that about that. But you see, what we need to do is calling on Nigerians to support what we are doing, voter education. Like INEC, who presents a budget of 1 trillion, and at the end of the day, will loot and steal all the money in the issue of voter education. Are you telling me that INEC does not do a budget for voter education? In this FCT election, how much was given to your station? How much was given to the private sector station? Your station is a private sector organization as a watchdog to Nigerians and as a station who gives Nigerians the opportunity to hear themselves. This is one station we should respect. But let me ask you the question again. How much was given as a subvention from INEC to your station? No money. That money was stolen by INEC itself. You see, we have to start calling out people who commit crimes against the development of Nigeria. Are you saying that this INEC did not receive any budget for the sensitization of voters? Which medium did they use? How much was given to this station? Are you saying this station does not warrant any payment from INEC to do this job? So exactly, even the political parties. How many people did the political party give orientation to? It means that Nigeria has an illiterate electorate
100%.
who does not understand their rights and privileges. So practically, we are calling on people of the world, those who love democracy, those who love Nigeria. Join us. It cannot be a Dr. Barry thing alone. I was opportune to form Vote Must Count. What about you who is watching today? Why not join me to educate our people in the post-primary school, those who will qualify by age very soon to join the voting list, to understand what voting is, to understand why you need to vote, to understand why your rights has very, very strong stain on deciding who should lead you. Nigerians need to know this. This is the opportunity these people in government take. They seized this chance. Look at what Nyesom Wike did in the FCT yesterday. If Nigeria is to be a good country or a country that is working, where is the Inspector General of Police? Is Nyesom Wike above being invited by the Inspector General of Police? Can't he be arrested? Can't he be called to caution? Is he the father? Is he the owner of the FCT? Those are the things we should ask. Is he above arrest? Is he above invitation? The minister should be called to order. We cannot just sit down and think this country will work when people are doing things without calling them to order. You call Peter Obi to order when he makes a mistake, the obedient will shout. You call Atiku to order when he makes a mistake, the articulated will shout. You call Ahmed Bola Tinubu to order when he makes wrong statements and wrong decision on the economy. Agbadorians will shout. You call Rotimi to action. Maybe if Rotimi makes a mistake, amichified people will say, why are you disturbing our candidate? Why are you disturbing our preferred candidate? Nigerians, it's time for you to step up. God has already blessed you with the best stations in the world. This station I'm talking now, do you know how many million people listen to me? Take the opportunity. Speak to yourselves. It is your right to do the right thing. Look at the FCT. People who wanted to vote from the Nyanya axis, they locked them up. If you understand the politics of the FCT, you will know that people who vote in AMAC are people who register in their business places. These people are disenfranchised. This is a by force sit at home by the minister. It is wrong. That is why we are calling on the people of the world, because we cannot call Ahmed Bola Tinubu anymore, because he's part and parcel of INEC until he has no rights deciding who becomes the INEC chairman. Moreover, this INEC chairman too will be, in fact, let me even tell you, with the little investigation we have carried out with the activities of the election yesterday, it is clear that this INEC chairman is even 1 billion times worse than Mahmoud Yakubu, because he does not understand what election is about. Yeah, I don't think this INEC chairman understands that it's time for Nigeria to take back its country. I don't think this INEC chairman knows that we have an illiterate electorate that needs to be educated. We should do this, and we should do it right. It is time for us to call up people. I'm not calling out anybody because I just want to call names. Nigeria is a place where when you call names of people who commit crime, they'll come out for you. A man dies but once. The highest you can do is to kill me, but the truth is spilled. I will say it the way it is without fear or favor. Nigeria has come to a time where the right thing must be done at the right time. The vote of the people must count. And the only way it will count is when the people are given the privilege to cast their vote and to also protect it. Thank you.
Dr. Johnson, that was yet again another interesting input there by you. But I wanted to put everything here together now. Let's take a look at credibility of this current election here for 2026. Let's also take a look at voter education, and let's push that forward to 2027. Do you think, well, I don't know whether credibility or lack of credibility, voter education, is it too late to start educating the electorate in view of 2027? This question is actually for both of you. Umar, you can as well go after Dr. Johnson has. But Dr. Johnson, let's keep it summary this time, please.
Yeah, I think if we need to have a robust 2027 general election, the INEC needs to repent from their bad deeds. INEC, the chairman of INEC needs to repent. The people working with the chairman needs to repent. The National Assembly needs to repent. The INEC is called an independent organization. The president of Nigeria must stay away from the activities of elections in Nigeria, most especially the FCT minister. Because you see, if we want to have a 2027 election that comes with robustness, education of voters must be paramount. This INEC chairman must partner with people like us, because you cannot be the referee in a game where you are a player.
Do you think the reforms that have just been signed in by Bola Ahmed Tinubu should have included voter education? And whose main responsibility should that have been? Should that be INEC's main responsibility? Like you mentioned from before, even pay media to educate the electorate. Now, is it too late to do all of that? We only have a timeline of 1 year before 2027 hits.
It's not too late. It's not too late. Even in 6 months, from now to 6 months, it can work out. But the truth is that INEC must understand that those funds are not supposed to be funds that are put in pockets, personal pockets. Those funds should be distributed to the TV stations, the radio stations, and to the NGOs like us that have direct access to the people. Who is going to listen to INEC? Nobody trusts INEC. So any information INEC is giving out is Bangladesh. We are the people that the Nigerians are waiting for. The Nigerian broadcast organizations, like this station, they will listen to you. So this chunk of this funds should be given to this station. These funds should be given to the CLOs, the civil society, to go out and talk to the people. Nobody will listen to INEC. Nobody trusts INEC because of their past activities, because of their past activities in the influence of rigging elections and the influence of creating litigations for our elections. That is what we're saying. Okay, this is the truth. We must face it clearly.
Umar Mohammed, what's your take?
Yeah, for us, we believe that sensitization and voter education should be a continuous thing. There is no time that is too late, and it is on that basis that KDI, in partnership with the Voter Education Department of INEC, is working together to review their voter education manual. That document is ready. We'll be launching it any moment soon. We decided to, move a bit further we looked at the INEC voter education manual. We discovered that it is a bit cumbersome, even for young people to be able to interact with. So we did a youth-friendly version, of that document. And that document will also be in public. It will also help, TV stations like you to also be able to put out, voter education information as youth-friendly as possible. You know that young people that we have these days have a very short attention span and interact with, information that are media, related, that have pictorial diagrams, and all that, not just text. Text would, they easily lose focus, when they see text. So that youth-friendly manual is so designed that it can captivate young people and get them interested, in voter education. And by the time that document is ready, it's something that you see. We believe that the National Orientation Agency is also not being empowered enough for whatever it is. INEC has a full-fledged, voter education department. But in terms of, reeling out, all the information that the people need to be able to be part of the process, we are not seeing them do that. We urge the government, no matter, they should try as much as possible to empower the National Orientation Agency, which responsibility it is, to sensitize the populace in terms of this, and take away, some of these responsibilities that are choking INEC, because they themselves even, say this, that they are loaded with all kind of responsibility, and they can't do all at once. So I will say, the bulk of this sensitization and voter education responsibility should be taken away from INEC and given to the National Orientation Agency, so that we have, an independent institution that we can hold to account, in terms of this issue. More so, the people who also need to, play a very pivotal role, when it comes to voter education. Voter education shouldn't be the responsibility of one institution alone. All hands must be on deck to drive, this ahead of 2027.
Umar Mohammed, I want to say thank you very much. Dr. Barry Johnson, thank you very much for this very healthy first 1 hour here for Breakfast Extra. We'll continue to watch and see what exactly happens or transpires today as the collations are rounding up and the results would be announced. Well, we hope for peace. We also hope that come next year, 2027 elections, there would be more participation across the country. But before that, more education. I do not know, well, for now, exactly who and how that is going to go. As we have said, maybe INEC should shift that responsibility to bodies that are independent, bodies that are credible for people to, well, maybe take advantage of. We continue to watch, we hope. And of course, we look forward to a better Nigeria, better electoral process. Thank you very much, gentlemen.